Like, literally, I have a soundtrack that I hum.
Hello, I'm Trash Opinions. I remember it so you don't have to. Wait, that's not right. Hello, welcome to Trash Opinions, where we talk all things trash. I am your host, Trash. That's better. Today, we are talking about the first season of the new era, Survivor 41. A lot of changes have come to 41, some great and not so great twists. The new Beware advantages that take your vote away until you complete a complicated task that requires the work of more than just you, but gives you an idol. The Hourglass, which changes who wins immunity at the merge, and a new Shot in the Dark advantage, which lets you sacrifice your vote for a 1 in 6 chance of safety. It also introduced the most controversial change of all, the diversity mandate. Now, at least half of the cast is required to be people of color, finally destroying something that's been apparent for Survivor's entire run, how white the casts have been. For the first couple seasons, we had exactly 2 people of color for every 14 white people, and it hadn't improved much since, and whether you want to admit it or not, racial biases do exist, whether conscious or subconscious, it's still a thing, and it's just nice to have things more balanced and equal. It's a good thing. Diversity, good. I have my gripes with the modern era, but it has more to do with the 3-tribe format, which I have always kind of hated, more than it does with the casting. Survivor 41 was incredibly divisive when it came out, but how does it hold up in 2024? Let's find out. Also, let's comment and subscribe and like. We are almost at 100 subscribers, and at 100 I will be making a Survivor season tier list and ranking. Without further ado, let's get right into Survivor 41, the start of a new era. Starting this countdown off with the worst character of the season, we actually have the first boot, Eric Abraham. Abraham is one of the Survivor contestants of all time. There is not much you can say about the guy. He seemed like he could really be strategic, but doesn't get any chance to be, and he ends up a dud among duds, like Katrina Radke era first boots, and much like him giving you padded out fluff at Tribal Council, you get nothing of real substance from him. I'm just gonna toss the guy into meh. At number 19, we also have a character that was kind of a dud, and we have Genie Chen. Genie's story of coming out to her mom was really cute, but that's the most we really get early on. Genie just kind of exists and doesn't do anything gameplay-wise. She's not included on the plan. She isn't even a part of the plans to blindside Brad. She votes correctly exactly once, and I don't even think it's a move that benefits her. She finds a Beware advantage, and in a situation where I personally would have kept it a secret, she goes and runs and tells Shan and Ricard about it. It's the same advantage Brad found, and Genie baby, this is right before the merge. You want to keep that shit a secret because Ricard and Shan are obviously a duo, you know that. She doesn't play the new Shot in the Dark advantage and instead goes home to Little Flair. She's as passive as they come, and I wish she just had a little bit of fight in her. She could have been someone to stir up the pot with Shan and Ricard, but she wasn't, and she goes out in meh. And continuing with the pre-merge boots, at number 18 we actually have Sarah Wilson. Sarah could have been a lot of fun, but unfortunately we really didn't get to see that much of her. What we got I found somewhat enjoyable. She gets some sympathetic content in talking about her mom being sick, but she did not leave much of an impression on me other than her calling Brad a Survivor player from 2000. She could have been good, but she ends up just as a nothing character who gets blindsided despite not really doing much to cause it. Unfortunately, she's in meh. Rounding off the D tier, next we have David Voce. Voce is someone else I really wanted to like. He's seemingly in the majority with Evie and Xander in the beginning. He also does the sweat challenge with Xander to earn their flint, seemingly forming a bro bond over their shared experience. It's looking kind of good for Voce. Regardless, he's kind of a butt monkey. He's invalidated in every tribe decision. He doesn't even do anything wrong to get himself voted out. He was just the safe vote because they wanted to avoid idle shenanigans from Xander. He's not even the target until like 20 minutes before Tribal. Poor dude. You almost want to root for the guy who keeps getting the short end of the stick, but at the end of the day, he's still pretty unremarkable. He's in meh. Now from 15 to 14 we have a huge jump in quality. From here on is nothing but characters that I actually really like. We get to that part this early. But here we have someone that I had trouble figuring out who was the worst out of this pack, but here we do have Sydney Siegel.
Hachi machi.
Hooba hooba.
Stop that.
Wow, Sydney, that is a very tiny bikini. I'm not sure if I can even show that on YouTube. There. Sydney fits the Heidi and Morgan archetype of narcissistic, snarky hot girl who thinks everyone's jealous of them, just not as iconic. Sydney shows her gaming side when she throws Nasir under the bus early for wanting to target Danny. She then finds and opens the Boat Summit Beware Advantage and immediately regrets it. Honestly, I would never open a Beware Advantage. If I found one, I would instead use it to build trust with someone else. Let them deal with the consequences if they want it so bad. She plays defensively, which results in her receiving nothing from the advantage. Sydney becomes perceived as over-emotional when she throws the flint in frustration after failing to be able to make fire, which is a great example of why you need to keep your cool at every moment of Survivor. People will turn mountains out of molehills out here. Her reaction to Deshawn telling her Erica is throwing her name out is pretty funny. She's basically like, yeah, of course I'm a threat. I'm fucking amazing and beautiful. They hate me because they ain't me. Sydney becomes out of focus until the merge boot, and she's only the merge boot because of this stupid hourglass twist that sent the winning team to tribal council. Sydney didn't do anything wrong to be the boot other than not being like quite enough to protect and basically being the fall guy. Sydney got screwed, plain and simple, but she also could have possibly saved herself by not playing her shot in the dark and voting Evie, causing a tie, which maybe on a revote, Evie gets knocked out. Sydney herself didn't really wow me in any way, but she was still a fun addition to the cast, but I feel like the circumstances behind her boot are so controversial that it's appropriate to put her in fun downfall. Next up, we have someone that I liked a lot more than I thought I would, and here we have Heather Aldred. I love how Heather memed on her own purple edit by posting a Where's Waldo parody of her edit, but it's Where's Heather. It's one of the best moments in Survivor's social media history. It was fantastic. She's completely invisible, but she's still incredibly endearing and respectable by the time she goes out, despite being totally invisible the entire way. I've never seen someone be so endearingly purpled. She did have win equity at least. People really liked her out there, and it's how she survived this long. It's kind of like Sunday Burquest. You love her even though you're not shown much of her. She just has that mom of the tribe energy, and she's a sweetheart, so I have nothing bad to say about her. She takes Erica aside during tribal council, and it erupts into one of the most awkward live tribals I've ever seen. She then starts getting some content because now she has a massive target on her back, and people view her as unpredictable, but instead she's being used as a decoy vote to blindside Nasir with an idol in his pocket. She does have a very emotional moment as she thinks it's her last tribal in saying she wants her kids to be proud of her, which I just found really cute. She then bonds with Deshawn over him feeling vulnerable as a black man representing his race on television, and it's this really cute moment that Heather clearly took a lot from. You can tell it opened up her already kind heart a little bit more. Heather finds herself in the final four with some serious win equity, and the only thing in her way is beating Deshawn in firemaking. Cue the greatest firemaking challenge up to this point. Heather was literally 3 seconds away from winning, but Deshawn pulls it out in an exciting finish, causing Heather to get eliminated. She's given her flowers on her way out as she's come a really long way, and she never gave up once, and that's how Heather ends up as an incredibly rootable character on the season. It sucks to see her go out, but she exceeded expectations. Considering her small edit, I have to put her decently high and cute. Next up, we got Tiffany Seeley. Tiffany's a lot of fun. She gets out of being the first boot by her tribe just in general liking her more than Abraham. She's just such a cool aunt. I also like how much she swears despite being a teacher. She plays hard and is an incredibly likable person to her tribe. She's in the Xander and Evie corner when Lyanna flips over to the Shan side of things and keeps Xander's advantages safe from Lyanna's knowledge's power advantage. She's an interesting player. She goes from being the weakest to being beloved to people being annoyed with her to being the forefront of strategy. I don't know what to make of her from a gameplay standpoint. She's just kind of all over the place, but her as a character is absolutely entertaining. Not to mention, her getting attacked by a beetle while on the jury was pretty funny. I mean, I definitely like her, but I don't think she's quite a great tier level of a character, but I will definitely put her in mildly entertaining. Next up to the mound at number 11, we actually have Evie Jagoda. I need to say, Evie has since come out as non-binary, so I will be referring to Evie with they-them pronouns, despite being presented as a gay woman with she-her pronouns during the filming of Survivor. Evie becomes an Edgic frontrunner early on, and I assumed they would go farther than they actually did. Evie is basically just Zeke Light, the GameBot superfan who is really strategic, constantly making alliances, loves answering Jeff's questions at Tribal, good socially but clearly a threat and destined to go out mid-merge. Just, Evie is not nearly as interesting or captivating as Zeke, but still great queer representation in my opinion, which makes them incredibly rootable for me regardless. I mean, I'll be the first to admit that it would have been nice to get some sweet and ultra rare non-binary representation on television, but this was before they were out, but I'm really happy for them regardless. Evie has this nail-biter moment where Xander tells Tiffany not to play the idol he gave to her on Evie, much to Evie's horror, and they get 5 entire votes before the boot is revealed to be Sydney. Straight up heart attack moment for them. I don't blame Evie for almost having an anxiety attack and sweating profusely during that entire vote reading. However, at the very next challenge, Evie then feels the need to humble brag about how they made a previous Survivor season's puzzle out of beads at their home to practice doing it after they actually get to do that same puzzle during a challenge and won. Superfans, stop doing this. Explain that shit in your Talking with T-Bird interview later, not in front of everybody. It just makes you look like a gigantic threat. They all just want that Stephen Fishback moment, the fucking nerds. Evie also has this major flaw where they will play all sides instead of sticking to just one alliance, which is why nobody really wants to protect Evie. They go out in a split tribal where they are the unanimous vote, and it's something you can see from a mile away, like as soon as that tribe split for that challenge. I do really like Evie. I think they have a high chance of playing again, and I am going to put them in mildly entertaining. Coming into the top 10, we actually have the controversial winner of the season, Erica Kasupanan. Erica, the winner that looked like a lamb but played like a lion. Erica's likable enough as a winner. She has this wide-eyed, excited stare that's super cute. Erica is underrated as a winner, in my opinion. The best thing you can be on Survivor for your game is invisible, and Erica was great at being that. While you have people like Evie, Ricard, and Shan going, "Oh hell yeah, Jeff, I'll answer all of your questions at Tribal, and let everyone know how well I know this game," while Erica's the smart one not saying a fucking thing, and Jeff just ignores her half the time. It's brilliant on her part if you ask me. Yeah, it's not gonna make you a popular winner, but what's your bank account looking like? Yeah, you're fine. She doesn't get chosen for the reward when the winning team has the option to after they win. She gets sent to exile instead, and she's really bummed about it. But then comes the hourglass twist. One of the dumbest twists in Survivor history. It's been in 2 seasons and I still don't quite understand the point of it. She then starts playing this impressive game where her and Heather are the free agent votes others could use in their plans, and they skate on despite being looked at as a threat by Shan in the game. Erica's name was definitely being thrown out there. Erica manages to defeat the biggest threat in the game at an immunity challenge at Final 5, opening up the opportunity to finally get out Ricard. She's not chosen to go into fire based on the fact that she's been to exile and most likely had to make fire by herself there, but she secretly sucks at making fire, so she dodges a bullet there. It's a good thing too, because her tribal council performance was incredible, and she really outlined her game and how Shan was the only person who saw her as a threat the entire time, and the fact that somehow an obvious pair in Erica and Heather were able to last all the way to the Final 4 without being dominant players really, which doesn't happen often. I have a ton of respect for Erica's game. I think she played well at every turn of the game and was very good at positioning herself as someone other alliances wanted to use in their plans. People were not happy about her win at the time, but I feel like she played the best game. Yes, even better than Ricard. Erica is among the Kim Spradlins and Sarah Lacinas when it comes to convincing winners while not having any real big character moments, and I think I'm going to put her amongst them in the rankings of good player. Now, in boot order going way back to the pre-merge, we have Brad Reese. I adore Brad. He's like a blast from the past. The dude's playing a 2002 Hunter Ellis game in 2021. I love it. He openly declares either Shan or Sarah should be the first boot in front of Shan and Sarah for no reason. It is impressive how he ended up getting his way on that vote too, despite not understanding social tact in the slightest. He's an old school player in the new school. He just feels like he should be on season 6 of Survivor, not 41. He's the hard worker who provides, and he's not very strategic, but he can find advantages though. You bet your ass he finds advantages. He finds the beware advantage while working on the fire as everyone else is goofing off and doing Reem impressions. He then later gets to steal a vote. Brad makes the tragic mistake of showing Shan his entire hand and trusting her way too much. He thought he was Shan's number one, and how wrong he was. Dude cannot keep a secret and is easily played like a fiddle. However, if he played on an earlier season, I feel like he might have fared a whole lot better. Brad is so much fun his entire short run, and I'm gonna put him high in mildly entertaining. And now, closing out this tier, we got my boy, Nasir Mutalif. He's cool like a cucumber. Nasir is a modern-day Yao man. He's someone who's lived off the land before and understands how to emotionally handle a humble life with no luxuries, unlike all these other spoiled Americans. Nasir, like Yao man, is also the fucking man. He's such a challenge beast that he even wins the challenge for his team that was really trying hard not to win. He's a triple threat despite English not being his first language, which is really impressive. I love how he learned English from watching Survivor. For some reason, that in particular was really endearing to me. He's just so adorable too, and he's such a cool guy that seems like a joy in real life. He has an idol coming into the merge by being as confused as a goat on AstroTurf, and he just kind of takes a backseat as the super nice, awesome, helpful guy who you know isn't making it anywhere near the end, and of course he doesn't. However, he was so incredibly enjoyable for what he was, even if he wasn't as big a character as some of the others on the cast, and he kinda left me wishing there was more of him. I have no idea why he didn't play his idol though. He should have known it was prime time for a blindside. I have a soft spot for the dude. He's just such a wonderful man. He was way too nice for the game of Survivor. He's going into cute. We are now already entering the great tier, and starting off we have Lyanna Wallace. Lyanna is underrated. She's incredibly rootable and sympathetic, while also being respectable and likable, and also the best out of all the women at the challenges. She's under the radar until she forms a strong bond with Shan on Shipwheel Island based on shared personal experiences, and Shan lets Lyanna get the knowledge is power advantage. They come into the merge looking to work with each other, forming an all-black alliance with Deshawn and Danny, where Lyanna is the second in command. She has a massive pie-in-the-face moment where everyone knows about her advantage thanks to Shan telling Tiffany, so she uses her knowledge as power advantage on Xander, only for his idol to be a fake, so she just sits there with egg on her face looking like a fool for even trying. She then seems to be more comfortable in her position in the game, and it's when she starts opening up a lot more, getting more sympathetic personal content, and it's all really good stuff that makes you like her more. Lyanna just has this air to her that makes you want to root for her, and she's starting to look like possibly a dark horse winner. She then gets totally blindsided when Deshawn and Danny flip to take out Shan, leaving her on the bottom, and she's in a terrible position as the easy vote next round. The travel she goes out on is really powerful, and you're left feeling bummed Lyanna's being unanimously booted here. Lyanna played an amazing game on the season, and there were a few times where I thought she was outplaying Shan socially. She definitely wasn't the one mucking up the plans by running her mouth, that's for sure. I don't know if that would be enough to win against Shan in the end, but Lyanna plays a great game, and you leave the season really liking her. I'll put her in entertaining. At number 6, we have the fan favorite, Xander Hastings. Xander's a ton of fun immediately. He's very gung-ho, jumping on any opportunity he can to earn an advantage. He's the first to get the silly catchphrase beware advantage, and so he spends some immunity challenges looking like a loon talking about butterflies being dead relatives. I actually really like that twist. Not only does it create some hilarious moments where you're saying something absolutely ridiculous, but you're also finding reasons to say it at every single challenge until until someone else reciprocates. It's actually kind of brilliant. It's a shame it can't be used again because everyone's just going to immediately know what's up if people are saying some random nonsense at challenges. Thankfully, right before the merge, Xander, Shan, and Nasir are able to say the magical phrase that powers up all three of their idols. What is this? Harry Potter? He comes into the merge with 2 advantages and makes an alliance with Nasir as the 2 major obvious threats. He then has this badass moment where Lyanna uses her knowledge as power advantage on him to steal his idol, but he replaced his real idol with a fake one, and Tiffany actually has the real one. I love how he says, you can have this fake one. Like, he rubs salt into that wound. It's great television. Once the merge hits, he's kind of pushed aside to make more room for characters like Shan, Lyanna, Ricard, Danny, Deshawn, Erica. Shit, I think even Heather gets more content than him in that early merge. He then is roped in on plans to vote out Ricard, but Xander wants Ricard around as a meat shield, so he instead convinces everyone to vote Lyanna with him. It's a very smart read on his end, and it benefits his game. Ricard opens up to him about expecting another kid, and they have this really nice moment together before Xander has to vote his meat shield out. Xander asking Fiji if it wants to rock during the next day's rainstorm is really entertaining. I enjoyed it at least. He wins final immunity and does the good guy thing of letting both Deshawn and Heather know that they're the ones going into fire making, so they have time to practice. He almost has a change of heart after seeing how much Erica absolutely sucks at fire making, but sticks to his original plan. Unfortunately, he just does not have the respect from the jury to win in the end. He's liked for sure, and it's pointed out by Nasir at Final Travel that Xander does have an incredibly kind heart. However, a big problem the jury had with Xander's game is that he didn't give up immunity to take out the true biggest threat left in the game, Erica, in fire making. They're not wrong. I think it was stupid to save Erica too, and it's what causes Xander to lose as a 0-vote finalist despite being the good guy, advantage-finding underdog all season. Xander is for sure a fan-favorite golden boy, and I see why, and I'm definitely putting him in entertaining. Alright, and creeping into the top 5, we actually have the last pre-merge boot left on the board. We have JD Robinson. Money! JD is amazing. He's like if Wu fused together with the guy from Good Burger. He wants to be the Survivor triple threat so bad, but just ends up as not even a threat. He can't even lie convincingly. He gets a ton of content in the first episode, getting to go on the journey with Danny and Xander, and getting to really go into detail about his love for the game of Survivor. He risks his vote at the ship reel, and it pays off, earning him an extra vote. Thanks, Danny. He's almost the first boot, but they inexplicably decide to vote Sarah out instead for some reason, but I'm still glad it wasn't JD. JD is hilarious. He's a super fan in an enjoyable way, and he can do impressions of various Survivor alumni, and his Wu impression is pretty spot on because he basically is Wu. He's just so entertaining while making it look effortless, and I would be surprised if they never bring him back. He just has so much passion for the game, and he's so excited to tell you his thoughts. You can just tell he's on a high just from being on his favorite show. It's really endearing. He's like a little kid. For a super fan too, he doesn't seem to know how to play Survivor very well. His steal a vote advantage is just hanging out of his waistband, where Shan and Ricard pointed out and are now pissed that he hid an advantage from them. JD then, for some reason, he gives it to Shan, and he calls himself a ballsy player for a move when there's no real upside to it. JD is a ridiculous man. He wanted to be a Malcolm in strategy, but ends up as an Eric Reichenbach. He wanted to be a JT socially, but ends up more like a Jason Siska. He also wanted to be the Aussie in challenges, but ends up as the War Dog. He's the paper tiger chasing his own tail. It's his biggest flaw. He's trying too hard to be other Survivor players when he should just be JD. People like JD. He's charming, but instead he just comes off as fake to everyone. JD pisses off Shan too much through his misplaced confidence, and Shan concocts this plan to convince JD to give her his steal a vote, and it actually works. Shan returns the favor by voting JD out with his advantage in her pocket. He gets caught with his pants down, and Shan loots his corpse. JD is a whole lot of fun. I even love his vote out confessional. At least my hair looks good. Valid. Terrible player, fantastic character. I think I'm going to put him in entertaining. Getting into the top 4, and I'm really shocked he's this high, but here we have Deshawn Ren. Deshawn is desperately trying to throw this immunity challenge, and Yasa sucks so bad that they're still falling behind regardless. Nasir is just such a challenge beast that they can't even throw the challenge. It's hilarious. Deshawn, like the rest of Luvu, never go to tribal the entire pre-merge, so they don't get the focus of any of the strategy until the merge. He starts feeling some type of way at the merge when Shan starts big sistering him. He takes it incredibly personal and doesn't like it at all. He's not wrong either. Shan was being way too direct with him and not nurturing their relationship as much as she should have. Deshawn was clearly the 4th or 5th in Shan's plans. Him and Danny then work with Ricard and Erica to take out Shan. I really don't blame him for that. I don't like being told what to do either. I feel you, Deshawn. He gets a really big character moment in the Lyanna boot tribal where he talks about how he wanted to represent his race and that he's been carrying that burden with him the entire game, and it's this really vulnerable moment that you don't see a lot of on Survivor. He then has his biggest moment of the season where he plays Do or Die, a game of chance that could, worst case scenario, cause you to be eliminated without a vote, and he picks correctly, much to everyone's amazement, and it's all just to vote out Lyanna. He makes a better move at the Danny boot when he causes a rift at tribal between Heather and Erica's trust relationship to the point where they stop being on speaking terms for a little bit, but then they quickly kiss and make up. Sean then has a monumental task of fire making, but he manages to squeak out a win against Heather in a very back and forth close challenge where it came down to seconds. However, final travel is where Deshawn's chances of winning plummet. He's accused by Shan of not being true to the idea of a black alliance and capitalizing on social issues in order to control people, garner sympathy, and position himself better in the game, which I verbally responded to with oof, because that's a big thing to be accused of. Deshawn handles himself well in response to it, denying it convincingly and apologizing to Shan, but still, damn, that's one hell of a cannonball to drop on someone's boat. He ends up only getting Danny's vote in the end, but what a wild ride it was. Deshawn gets a lot of flack in my opinion, but he's a fantastic character, and I'm gonna definitely put him in entertaining. Getting to the top 3, and I think there's a top 2 that most of you are expecting, but I'm here to subvert your expectations. At 3, we have Ricard Forier. Ricard's backstory immediately makes him one of the most rootable members of the entire cast. He's got a baby, an awesome trans husband, helping normalize trans people on TV, which I like, and you immediately want him to win the season. At least I did. He is the one to bring up to Jeff that he should change the "come on in guys" catchphrase, and I really didn't give a shit about any of this. I personally view the word guys in that context as pretty gender neutral, despite also being a way to describe a male. It's kind of like calling someone dude. You can call a woman dude. Like, you can refer to a group of women as guys, but at the same time, I don't care enough to have a strong opinion about it which way or the other, so whatever. Jeff's allowed to do what he wants to do. Nobody forced him to do it. There's no real reason to really complain about it. Ricard takes a backseat to Shan in the pre-merge, and he's the quieter one out of the duo, despite being part of every single vote along with Shan. When he hits the merge, he wins the Dan Schneider challenge, the Quentin Tarantino challenge if you're more into film, destroying any chance Sydney had of making the merge. He commits a social faux pas after he comes back from a reward challenge by taking a small piece of papaya that Lyanna was cutting, setting off Shan. His face was kind of hilarious in how shocked he was that they're so mad at him for it. He then gets some content about the fact that he can't hear out of his right ear and how much that hinders him when trying to pay attention to everyone's conversations, so he instead resorts to reading lips, which makes his game that much more impressive. He loses the final 5 immunity challenge to Erica and knows he's going home, so he opens up to Xander about having a baby due literally a week from now, and it's possibly already born. And it makes you feel somber when he's actually voted out. Ricard played an incredible game while remaining entertaining the entire way, and he's definitely going into entertaining. At number 2, we have someone that I just grew to love so much on this season, and we have Danny McCrae. You see, Gary Hogaboom, that's how you lie about being an ex-NFL player. Lie and say the last time you played was college. It's so believable. There's tons of college players who don't go on to play in the NFL. Just roll with that. Besides, Danny McCrae wasn't even a great football player outside of special teams plays where he excelled. He was brought in as an undrafted free agent. He only started 1 season in the NFL, replacing replacing an injured starter on the Cowboys and then eventually losing his role due to inconsistent play throughout the season and better players at his position coming in and joining the team. He wasn't making millions. He even took a pay cut once his rookie contract was up just to stay on the Cowboys, and his career in the NFL was done soon after that. Disappointing NFL career aside, Danny is just so cool. He's super chill and just has this air about him that makes you really want to root for him to go all the way. He's just so undeniably likable while also being really strategic and intelligent and a challenge beast. You can just tell Danny is a natural leader, and he just has this presence that would make you look up to him. He seems really enchanted by the prospect of an all-black alliance, and it reminds me of when I first heard of the cookout on Big Brother, where the alliance members wanted to be on the right side of history more than they wanted to win the game. And if you're mad at the prospect of an all-black alliance, consider the 40 seasons of all-white alliances we've been covering on this channel. It's really easy to say racial representation is unimportant and irrelevant when you're the one getting all the representation to begin with. All I'm saying. Representation matters, especially to the young kids watching. Danny and Deshawn then decide to flip on Shan, blindsiding her and Lyanna, and it just leads to the alliance being picked off one by one until it's just Deshawn being a losing finalist. It was the right move for Deshawn. I'm just not sure if it was the right move for Danny. It's very possible that Danny could have won against Shan. Danny also gets some sympathetic content where he talks about growing up with a father who passed when he was young and how much anger he built towards his father for dying, and I actually related to that more than I would prefer to admit. He expresses his displeasure with the decision to vote out Lyanna, and he's proven right because Ricard, the original target, wins immunity, and guess now who's the target? Danny. He knows he's going out, so in a cool moment he confesses to Deshawn about being a former Dallas Cowboy, which Deshawn is floored by. He basically surrenders to Ricard at his tribal council boot, letting him know, "You beat me. I ain't mad at you. Good game." It's so humble. I adore Danny's attitude, honestly. Danny comes off as such a good, dependable dude who played an incredible social game and almost made it to the end despite being one of these big physical athletes that usually get booted near the merge. He really didn't make a single enemy in the game, and I think he had a chance to beat Shan if he, say, wins fire making against Lyanna or Deshawn and performs well at Final Tribal Council. He had a path, and for a former NFL player, that's actually an amazing showing. It's more you could say about any of the other former NFL players who have played, unless I'm forgetting someone. I would absolutely love to see Danny play again, and he's going right into love. And at number 1, who else could it be but Shan Smith? Oh boy, this is going to go either extremely well or extremely badly, or nobody will care. Shan is immediately a main character, being the number 1 ally of every single person on her tribe. It's kind of amazing. I adore Shan's song, the song she hums when she's up to no good, the and I love how they added an actual musical rendition into the soundtrack to go along with her humming. She even accidentally hums it out loud in front of everyone in the scene, only to be asked, "What are you humming?" "Oh, nothing." They had no idea. It's great. I'm just saying that because I've heard people hate on Shan's song, and I just have to ask, what's wrong with you? Her story before the season is amazing. She fell into the wrong crowd in her youth, but then turned her life around through finding religion and became a pastor, and even rekindling the relationship with her mother before her unfortunate passing. She's an extremely sympathetic character who has gone through a lot of real-world hardships. Shan is the main character of the pre-merge, and she comes into the merge with this undeniable winners at it. She's controlling her entire tribe in the pre-merge. She gets really close to every single person on her tribe, even as she's slitting their throats one by one. It's amazing. Shan really is an incredible player, a true chess master mafioso type of player, and it's looking like she's going to continue this momentum into the merge through her relationship with Lyanna they formed on the journey to Shipwheel Island together. Shan forms an all-black alliance with Lyanna, Deshawn, and Danny, and that's when the cracks in Shan's social games start to show. She dicks over Lyanna by mentioning Lyanna's advantage around Tiffany, causing Tiffany to ask Lyanna about it, giving her no choice but to tell the truth that she has an advantage, which kind of fucks up her plan to steal Xander's idol, and what leads to Sydney becoming one of the most screwed over Survivor players players ever. It's just kind of wild how she pushed that first domino inadvertently. She then gets really mad at Ricard for trying a little piece of papaya after he came back from a reward, and I'm not sure if that was even warranted. It's Beangate all over again. God damn it, it always comes back to Beangate. Like, she berates him in front of the entire tribe. I kind of felt bad for Ricard. However, it is entertaining. Even though it's kind of bad gameplay to call out your number one ally like that, even if she is right. She then becomes overbearing with Deshawn and starts telling him what to do, which Deshawn openly doesn't like, causing Deshawn to not really be as cool with her anymore. She's big sistering him, and he hates it. She then can't convince Ricard to flip the votes on Heather, taking out Nasir, which I don't think is a move that benefited her. Eventually, there's just such a wedge between her and Deshawn that the entire alliance breaks apart, and Shan is sent packing, followed by the rest of the alliance one by one. It's kinda sad to watch. She goes out with a lot of fanfare, the music is incredibly sad and is treated like this massive loss, which, let's be honest, it is. Now, some people don't like Shan because of her devious nature despite being a pastor, and that she used race and religion to manipulate people, which I don't see how she was more egregious than, say, how Coach played on South Pacific. I would actually say Coach's tactics were a lot worse. I honestly don't see how she used race or religion to manipulate people anyway. I feel like everything she built her bonds on was genuine, and that she was serious about taking that alliance to the end. She was even honest with Ricard during that, hey, we might have to cut each other's throats conversation. The same people who complain about Shan are the same people who complain about there being no villains anymore. I just feel like there are some people who would just rather dislike someone than like someone and just find any reasons they can not to like them, no matter how petty. I feel like her hate is completely overblown. And yes, I have seen the Ponderosa footage, and I still feel that way. I understand her frustration because I feel like she really did want an all-black Final Four after what the culture has been through during 2020. The worst she gets is feeling a bit entitled to being in control of the votes and being salty about losing, but Rupert kind of did the same shit with this is my adventure and nobody else's, and those same people love Rupert. What makes Shan a fantastic character to me is her arc. She's a character that starts on top by building bonds with everyone. Then at the merge, she starts bossing those bonds around a little bit too much, and they don't like that, so they turn on her, and she eats a big old slice of humble pie. It's a fantastic downfall story. Shan is a great character. She is an absolute shoo-in for a returnee season, and I will be utterly shocked if she's not invited back, unless she doesn't want to experience the internet hate again and declines, which I can see as a possibility and being totally valid. She's going into favorite. Survivor 41 is incredibly underrated, that much is true. I actually really liked this season, thought the cast was great for an all-newbie cast, and I didn't mind a lot of the twist outside of that awful hourglass twist.
What were they thinking?
There's really not many dull moments, and even the more obvious and predictable vote-outs like Lyanna, Sydney, and Danny still manage to have things about them that make them memorable. Shan Smith is possibly one of the greatest villains in Survivor history. My favorite villains are always sympathetic ones where you can see it their way, ones where they're the hero in their own mind. I like layered characters with arcs, and Shan was exactly that. Dan is also incredible, and I really like an overwhelming majority of this cast. Survivor 1 is good, actually. Now, will that continue into Survivor 42? Let's find out. Next time on Trash Opinions, we are going to be looking at Survivor 42. And if you want to see that video when it comes out, just subscribe and it will come to your notifications. You know how YouTube works. But if you made it this far, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate you, and it's crazy that we're already on Survivor 41. And I hope to see you in 42. Goodbye.